Good morning, Dan and Amy, and the small because of the pandemic. But speak nonetheless, and couldn't be more timely considering possibility of ACB as his Supreme Court nominee to replace the vacancy created by Ruth Bader Ginsburg's passing, Amy Coney Barrett, and also just the matter of religious liberty generally that has been under assault from a lot of quarters, including with respect to state and local authorities as it pertains to church services during the pandemic. But on the matter of the vacancy first, a good piece from Christopher Scalia, one of Antonin Scalia's sons, talking about the relationship that his father had with Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
It's a beautiful story.
And he recalled words that his father offered Justice Ginsburg on the 10th anniversary of her time on the D.C. Circuit in which they both served. This was after Antonin Scalia had already been leveled up to the Supreme Court. She hadn't been yet. So he ended his talk with some sincere thoughts about their working time together. Christopher Scalia writes, I imagine that what Dad said then is close to what he'd say today, were he to mourn her passing. Quote, she was the best of colleagues as she is the best of friends. I miss her. So it was a real thing.
Yeah, they went to the opera together,
and
had a love of the arts.
And Scalia, Christopher Scalia, made the point that the point of the story in their friendship isn't that his father and RBG changed their votes to please one another or that they pulled any punches in dissenting opinions. The point is they didn't let those differing and deeply held convictions undermine their dear friendship. This has already been one of the most difficult and divisive years in living memory, he writes. With Justice Ginsburg's passing, it will become more so. Reasonable people of good faith will disagree about important issues. You and your friends will likely hold very strong, very different opinions about what course our country should take and who should lead us there. A healthy republic requires citizens to debate those issues forcefully and peacefully. A healthy society needs citizens to remember that political disagreement need not turn friends into enemies. That sounds like a thread that could be reiterated by President Trump at the National Catholic Prayer Breakfast this morning. For more on that topic, we're pleased to be joined by Jennie Lichter, who is a Deputy Assistant to President Trump for Domestic Policy, also a Notre Dame graduate.
Oh, yes.
So
Harvard Law School.
ACB
yes.
Connect there. I like that. Jennie Lichter, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I have to say my husband is from Chicago, and it's a place we both love. So shout out to you and your listeners in Chicago.
No, thank you so much.
I don't know if you'd recognize it now, but
yeah,
it's like a war zone.
Yeah, it used to be a city.
It used to be, yeah.
People
We used to have
lived.
restaurants.
We
Yeah.
used to have we used to have the rule of
absolutely.
law and stuff. It was cool
Yeah.
back then. So anyway, Jennie, what can we expect from the president per his remarks this morning?
Yeah, so we're really excited that the president's going to be offering remarks to the National Catholic Prayer Breakfast today. I, on a personal note, first attended this event in 2005, so I know what an encouraging morning it is for everyone who can be there in person when that's possible or who are joined to it in prayer. And the president knows, too, how important and how encouraging gatherings like this are for people of faith, especially coming on the heels of this crazy year that we've had. So this morning he'll be offering his gratitude and his support to the Catholic community as they gather in prayer, just talking about how important Catholics and the Catholic community is to the fabric of the nation and thanking everyone for their prayers.
And there's also going to be an award handed out to Attorney General William Barr. Can you explain what it is and why there's some controversy surrounding it?
Sure. So, Attorney General Barr is not only a fantastic lawyer with an incredible record of public service, but he loves this country. He's made that very clear. And he loves the people of this country and is totally committed to defending our rights. The award that he's getting this morning, I can't speak for the prayer breakfast, but I believe it's correct. It's an award for the laity, for a lay person. So in other words, not a priest. Exactly. Yeah. Someone who's not an ordained priest or a religious sister. Just for faithful service. So, we certainly believe that the prayer breakfast made a great choice there in giving him that award.
Talking about the prospect of a Catholic nominee to fill Ruth Bader Ginsburg's seat on the Supreme Court, Amy Coney Barrett, of course. Already it's begun some of the thinly veiled attacks on her for being a faithful Christian. This is a continuation of the attacks she endured when she was confirmed to the Seventh Circuit. And I wonder how the administration sees this as a potential opportunity, actually, to let the Democrats present who they are and let Amy Coney Barrett, for example, hypothetically, present who she is, or any other nominee present who she is on the matter of religious liberty and respect for people's religious liberty.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, of course, the president hasn't announced his choice, but I believe that at least one of the other folks who are being, who are on the president's short list is also a Catholic. So you're certainly right that this issue is sort of in the air. And Amy Barrett, of course, became a meme essentially after her circuit court hearing, as you're pointing out, right? When Senator Feinstein said to her, the dogma lives loudly within you, in this kind of scolding and surprised way. So, the confirmation is going to be messy. Probably it always is. And the other side will do what they do. But President Trump has made it clear he's going to nominate a woman, which I'm so excited about, to replace Justice Ginsburg. He's going to nominate someone who loves and respects the Constitution, including, of course, the first freedom, our first freedom, which is the freedom of religion. And it seems, again, given the people who are on the president's list, that the nominee may well be a person of faith herself, as you said, kind of putting this issue front and center and living out what it means to be an American who has a constitutional right to freely practice her faith.
And religious liberty is also important because there's a big case on the docket for the high court this fall, Fulton v. Philadelphia, that John Yoo and others have argued, and I agree, could finally restore religious freedom to the same status of other first freedoms enshrined in the First Amendment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. The Supreme Court in the last few years has a great track record of granting cert, in other words, of accepting religious freedom cases that present a whole different host of versions of the question of what kinds of freedoms do people of faith and religious communities have. So this court, I think, has signaled an interest in those sorts of cases. I think probably has also signaled that they think the law, there's still some room to continue to develop the law of religious freedom. As you said, there's at least one case already teed up for this coming term on religious freedom, and Attorney General Barr and his DOJ have a just incredible record of strong defense of the freedoms of religious believers and communities of faith. And every opportunity the DOJ gets to defend religious freedom in the courts, including in the Supreme Court, they take that opportunity. In some cases, including possibly in Fulton, the case you're talking about, even when the United States isn't a party to the case, right, there are still opportunities for the Department of Justice to weigh in. And this DOJ under President Trump's leadership has done that over and over again and is going to continue to do it. And
there are some other topic areas, too, on the domestic policy front that the next court is going to revisit in some form or fashion at some point, some more likely than others. One is with respect to race-based admissions policies. There's a challenge to Harvard University's use of race in its admissions policies that's winding its way potentially to the high court. And then the other matter is with a conservative on the bench, you have the possibility, another conservative on the bench, you have the possibility of finally, once and for all, freeing the Little Sisters of the Poor to begin with, and then also, in addition to that, overturning Obamacare.
Yeah, so every term in the Supreme Court is an important term, obviously with big cases. This past year was no exception, but this coming term is certainly shaping up to be an interesting and important term with a lot of important cases with big questions, like you're saying. So that makes it all the more important to get a new justice seated quickly, as soon as close in time as possible to the opening of the Supreme Court's term in early October. And again, someone who respects the Constitution, respects the rule of law, and is ready to just jump right in, go toe to toe with the rest of the justices on the court, and handle all those big cases that are coming down the pike this year.
Potentially another big case, and the president has spoken to this. He spoke to it before he jetted off to Pennsylvania yesterday. That if you have a close election and you have an election that's litigated, and it goes to the Supreme Court the way that Bush v. Gore did, you really need 9 justices. You really need a full complement because 4-4
It's not going to cut it.
becomes a bit of a problem, doesn't it?
Right. And anytime the court is short-staffed, and this has happened in the past with some of the unexpected vacancies or vacancies that have bled over into the Supreme Court's term, anytime there's less than a full complement, you run into a situation where sometimes the court ends up deadlocked. Sometimes that means they have to then hold a case over to the next term. But you can imagine some circumstances in which holding a case over until the justice is seated or until later on would be suboptimal. So again, in our view, it's just really important for a whole host of reasons to get a nominee through the process and onto the court so that he or she, I think we can safely say she in this case, can start making a difference on that court quickly as possible.
With respect to this designation per President Trump of anarchist jurisdictions, New York, Seattle, and Portland earning that distinction. Some others are presenting strong cases that they should also be so designated, like our home city here of Chicago. The idea that the president is going to use the authority that he has to enforce federal law, number one, like as in protecting federal buildings in cities and states, and number two, incentivize the enforcement of the rule of law in jurisdictions that are a little bit lethargic about enforcing the rule of law. And one way to do it is through the federal purse strings.
Right, that's right. I believe the Department of Justice makes the specific designations. That's outside my lane, but
right.
But as a general matter, President Trump is absolutely, you're right, a law and order president, and he's exactly been the right president for this moment in time, this summer, this fall, where a lot of cities have been suffering under localized violence. President Trump has made it very clear that he won't stand for that. He thinks the American people deserve better, no matter where they live, where in the country they live, or who their leadership is. They deserve to live in a safe and secure community. And he is using every tool at his disposal as the head of the executive branch of the federal government to try and bring that safety and security to this country. And he's succeeding, I think.
She is Jennie Lichter, Deputy Assistant to the President for Domestic Policy. Jennie, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Have a good one.
You too.
And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The Lou Dobbs Financial Report is brought to you by Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Visit signaturebank.bank for your commercial banking needs.
I'm Lou Dobbs. Disneyland tells California officials it's time to reopen. Canadian auto workers settle with Ford. Brookfield Properties announcing layoffs. Those stories next.
Okay, some good news. During a challenging time